My name is Vivian Cross, and I'm about to tell you how a birthday gift destroyed my perfectly constructed life. Not destroyed it violently, but peeled it back layer by layer until there was nothing left but truth. I'm 62 years old. I've lived in Baltimore my whole life, raised my daughter Imani in the same house where I grew up. She's 34 now, an attorney, brilliant, ambitious, everything I could have hoped for. We've always been close. After her father Marcus passed away from a heart attack when she was 9, it became just the two of us against the world. Imani has my eyes, my chin, my stubborn streak. At least, that's what I've always believed. 3 weeks ago, Imani called me sounding excited. She'd been invited to her law firm's partner retreat in Virginia and wanted to stop by my place before heading out. She showed up that Saturday afternoon with takeout from our favorite Ethiopian restaurant and a story about a difficult client she'd just won over. We were sitting at my kitchen table, the same table where we'd done homework and had heart-to-hearts for decades, when she pulled out her phone. "Mom, I need to show you something weird." I looked up from my Dora Watt. "Weird how?" She scrolled through her phone. "You know how the firm did that wellness fair last month? They had booths for everything. Fitness trackers, meditation apps, even one of those genetic ancestry companies offering free tests to employees." My stomach tightened, but I kept my face neutral. "Oh, yeah, I figured why not? I've always been curious about our family history." "You never talk much about your side beyond Grandma Dorothy." "That's because there's not much to tell," I said carefully. "My mother was an only child. Her parents died before you were born. Not much family to speak of." Imani nodded, still looking at her phone. "Well, I got the results back yesterday." "And?" "It's strange, Mom. The ethnicity breakdown is fine. Nothing surprising. But there's this relative section." I set down my fork. My hands were suddenly cold. "It shows all these DNA matches. People you shared genetic markers with. Distant cousins mostly. People with like 2% shared DNA. But there's one person who shows up as a very close match. Like, immediate family close." "What does it say exactly?" She turned her phone to show me. There was a name. Corinne Whitfield, age 71, location listed as Richmond, Virginia. Next to it, the app displayed predicted relationship, aunt, grandmother, or half-sibling. The room tilted slightly. I gripped the edge of the table. "I don't recognize that name," I said. My voice sounded strange even to my own ears. "Neither do I, and that's what's weird." I sent her a message through the app, asking if she knew how we might be connected. She hasn't responded yet, but Mom, if this is accurate, she's either your sister or your mother or, I don't know, something that doesn't make sense. Could be a mistake. I managed. Those tests aren't always reliable. Imani gave me a look. "Mom, you sound like those people who deny climate change because it snowed in April." "This is science. The DNA doesn't lie." I couldn't argue with that. She stayed another hour, talking about the retreat, about a case she was working on. I tried to focus, tried to respond appropriately, but my mind was spinning. After she left, I sat at that kitchen table until well past midnight. Corinne Whitfield, the name I hadn't heard in 34 years. I need to back up. I need to tell you what Imani doesn't know. In 1989, I was 28 years old and desperate. Marcus and I had been trying to have a baby for 7 years. 7 years of hope and disappointment, of doctors telling us there was no medical reason it wasn't happening, that sometimes these things just took time. But time was running out. I could feel it in my bones. I was working as a secretary at a shipping company in downtown Baltimore. The pay was terrible, but the people were decent. One of them was a young woman named Jasmine Whitfield. She was 18, just out of high school, working in the mailroom while trying to figure out what to do with her life. We'd chat sometimes during lunch breaks. She was bright, funny, a little lost. She reminded me of myself at that age, before I'd figured things out. One day in late October, I found her crying in the women's bathroom. She looked terrified. "I'm pregnant," she told me. "I don't know what to do." I handed her paper towels, waited while she composed herself. Then I asked the questions. Did she want to keep it? Did the father know? Did her family know? The father was some guy she'd met at a party. They'd hooked up once, and she didn't even have his full name. Her family, she said, her voice breaking, her family couldn't know. Her mother would kill her. Her mother had expectations, plans, a whole life mapped out for Jasmine that didn't include a baby at 18. "What do you want to do?" I asked her. She looked at me with these huge, terrified eyes. "I think I need to give it up for adoption. I can't raise a baby. I'm barely keeping myself together." Something clicked in my mind, something I'm not proud of, something desperate and selfish. "I could adopt the baby," I heard myself say. "My husband and I, we've been trying for years. We could give your child a good home." Jasmine stared at me. "Are you serious?" "Completely serious. We'd do a private adoption, everything legal. You could move on with your life, and the baby would be loved and cared for." She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Can I think about it?" She thought about it for 2 weeks. Then she came to me and said yes. We arranged everything through a lawyer Marcus knew. Private adoption, all the paperwork properly filed. Jasmine's family never knew. She told them she was going to stay with a friend in Philadelphia for a few months, figuring herself out. Instead, she moved into a small apartment Marcus and I paid for in Northeast Baltimore. I visited her throughout the pregnancy, took her to doctor's appointments, made sure she was eating properly, bought her prenatal vitamins. We didn't become friends exactly, but we developed an understanding. She was giving me the thing I wanted most in the world, and I was giving her an escape from a situation she couldn't handle. Imani was born on June 15th, 1990. Jasmine held her for maybe 30 minutes in the hospital. I watched through the window as she stared at her daughter, tears running down her face. Then she handed the baby to the nurse and asked them to bring me in. When they placed Imani in my arms, I felt complete for the first time in my life. This tiny, perfect human who needed me, who would be mine to love and raise. "Did you know Jasmine was your half-sister?" Marcus asked me later that night, sitting in the hospital waiting room. I froze. "What are you talking about?" "Vivian, I'm not stupid. I've seen the photos your mother kept. Jasmine looks just like your father." "You're imagining things," I said, but my voice shook. Marcus sighed. "Look, I don't know the whole story, and maybe I don't want to know. But if we're doing this, if we're raising this child, we need to be honest with each other. Are we keeping this adoption open or closed?" "Closed," I said firmly. "Jasmine wants to move on. She's already talking about going to college in North Carolina, starting fresh. We'll never see her again." "And you're okay with that?" "I have to be. Here's what Marcus didn't fully understand, what I've never told anyone until now. My father, Raymond Cross, was a charmer, handsome, smooth-talking. The kind of man who could convince you the sky was green if you wanted to. He worked as a salesman, always on the road, always bringing home stories about the people he'd met and the deals he'd closed. My mother, Dorothy, loved him desperately, too desperately. She ignored the signs, the late nights, the phone calls he'd take in the other room, the perfume that wasn't hers. When I was 16, a woman named Corinne Whitfield showed up at our door. She was younger than my mother, maybe 30, and she was holding a baby girl who couldn't have been more than 6 months old. "Your husband is this child's father," she told my mother. "I need help. I need money for diapers and formula." And she trailed off, looking exhausted and desperate. My mother's face went completely blank. Then she said, "I don't know what you're talking about," and closed the door. I watched from the stairs as my mother stood with her back against that closed door, trembling. My father came home an hour later. They had the kind of fight that shakes a house, all whispered fury and barely contained rage. The next morning, my father was gone for 3 days. When he came back, he brought flowers and apologies. My mother accepted both. We never spoke about Corinne Whitfield or her baby. It was as if that afternoon had never happened. But I remembered. I remembered the woman's face, worn down by struggle. I remembered the baby's big eyes, looking around our nice house with its nice furniture and nice yard. Years later, when I was 25 and my father had just died from liver failure, I was going through his papers. In the back of his filing cabinet, I found a folder, bank statements showing monthly payments to Corinne Whitfield. Child support, paid quietly, consistently for 18 years. There were photos too, a little girl growing up in snapshots, first day of kindergarten, gap-toothed smile, birthday parties. And in one photo, a teenager who would grow into the young woman I'd meet 3 years later in a bathroom at work. Jasmine. I never told my mother what I'd found. She died 6 months after my father, and I always believed it was from a broken heart. At her funeral, I looked for Corinne and Jasmine, wondered if they'd show up. They didn't. So when Jasmine appeared in my life, when she came to me pregnant and desperate, I knew exactly who she was. My half-sister, which made her baby my niece. But I never told her. I never told Marcus the full truth. And I certainly never told Imani. If you're still watching, do me a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe. Tell me what city you're listening from. I want to know who's out there hearing this story. Now, back to 3 weeks ago, sitting at my kitchen table after Imani left, staring at the name Corinne Whitfield on that DNA app. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed running through scenarios. Maybe Corinne wouldn't respond. Maybe Imani would lose interest. Maybe this would all just fade away. But I knew better. Imani was an attorney. She dug into things. She found answers. The next morning, Imani called me from the road. "Mom," Corinne responded. My heart stopped. What did she say? She wants to talk. She gave me her phone number and said to call anytime. She sounded, I don't know, emotional, like she'd been waiting for this. "Are you going to call her?" "Yeah, probably this week. I'm curious now. She might know something about our family history that you don't." "Maybe you should wait," I said. Let me look through some old papers first. See if I can figure out who she is." "Mom, what old papers? You just said there's no extended family." I must have misspoken. I'm tired. It's been a long week." "Okay," Imani said slowly. "Well, I'll keep you posted." She hung up. I sat on my bed, hands shaking. I had 2 choices. I could let this play out, watch my carefully constructed life crumble as the truth emerged. Or I could do what I should have done 34 years ago. I could tell the truth. But even thinking about it made my chest tight with panic. How do you tell your daughter that you've lied to her about everything? That you're not her biological mother? That her birth mother was your half-sister, a woman she never got to meet? I spent 3 days paralyzed by indecision. Then Imani texted me. "Called Corinne, meeting her for coffee on Saturday. You should come." I stared at that text for 10 minutes. Finally, I typed back, "Where?" "Richmond. She lives there. I'm driving down Saturday morning. Can you come?" "I'll be there." The drive to Richmond took 3 hours. I spent every minute of it rehearsing what I'd say, how I'd explain, how I'd make Imani understand. But every version I came up with sounded hollow. There was no good way to say this. Corinne had suggested a small cafe near the river. I arrived first, sat in my car for 20 minutes gathering courage. Then I saw her walking up the sidewalk. 71 now, but I recognized her immediately. Same strong jaw, same way of carrying herself. She looked tired but dignified, like she'd lived a hard life but hadn't let it break her. She saw me through the cafe window, and her expression changed. Recognition, then something harder to read. She came inside. "Vivian Cross," she said. "It's been a long time. You remember me." I remember the day my daughter came home pregnant and scared. I remember her telling me about a kind woman at work who offered to adopt the baby. She pulled out a chair and sat down across from me. I also remember doing research afterward, trying to figure out who you were, why you'd offered to help. And I found photos of your father, Raymond Cross. I couldn't speak. He looked just like Jasmine, Corinne continued. Same nose, same smile. I'm not stupid, Vivian. I knew what you were. My daughter's half-sister, which made that baby my granddaughter. Why didn't you say anything? Because Jasmine wanted the adoption. She was adamant. And I thought, maybe it's better this way. Better for the child to be raised by someone who desperately wanted her, who had resources and stability. Better than being raised by an 18-year-old who wasn't ready. We sat in silence for a moment. Does Jasmine know? I asked quietly. That you're her half-sister? No, I never told her. She knew about Raymond, knew he'd paid child support, but she never asked to meet him. By the time she might have wanted to, he was already dead. Where is Jasmine now? Corinne's face crumpled. She died 12 years ago. Car accident in Durham, North Carolina. She was driving home from her teaching job at the university. The world went gray at the edges. What? She'd become a history professor, Corinne said, her voice thick with grief. She'd built a good life, got her PhD, never married, never had other children. She told me once that giving up her daughter broke something in her, but she'd never regretted giving her to you. She said she could tell you'd be a good mother. I started crying, right there in that cafe, in front of this woman I barely knew. I broke down. Imani walked in 5 minutes later. She stopped in the doorway, looking between us, immediately understanding something was wrong. Mom? She came over quickly. What's going on? I looked at Corinne. She looked at me. Then I took a deep breath. Imani, sit down. We need to talk. I told her everything, the whole story, from my father's affair to finding Jasmine at work to the private adoption. I told her about keeping the truth hidden, about knowing Jasmine was my half-sister and never telling her. About letting Imani grow up thinking we were biologically mother and daughter. Imani sat there, her face becoming more and more closed off as I spoke. When I finished, she was silent for a long time. So you lied to me my entire life? She finally said. Her voice was flat, emotionless. I was scared of losing you. You didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth. You let me believe a lie for 34 years. She stood up. I need to go. Imani, please. She looked at Corinne. You're my biological grandmother. Yes, Corinne said gently. Did you know about me? All these years? I knew you existed. I knew your mother had placed you for adoption with Vivian, but I respected the closed adoption. I didn't reach out. Maybe I should have. Imani grabbed her purse. I can't do this right now. I need time to process. She walked out. I started to follow, but Corinne put a hand on my arm. Let her go. She needs space. I sat back down feeling like I'd been hollowed out. You should have told her years ago, Corinne said quietly. The longer you wait with something like this, the worse it gets. I know. She'll come around. She just needs time. But sitting there in that cafe, watching Imani drive away, I wasn't so sure. That was 2.5 weeks ago. Since then, Imani hasn't answered my calls. She's responded to texts, short messages saying she's fine. She just needs time. She'll reach out when she's ready. I've been living in this terrible limbo, waiting for my daughter to decide if she can forgive me. Yesterday, I got a call from Corinne. Imani came to see me, she said. We talked for several hours. What did she say? That she's angry. At you, at me, at Jasmine, at the whole situation. But she also said she's trying to understand why everyone made the choices they did. Did she ask about Jasmine? Everything. Corinne's voice softened. I showed her photos, told her stories. She wanted to know what kind of person her birth mother was. What did you tell her? That Jasmine was brilliant but scared. That she loved literature and terrible romantic comedies. That she worked hard to build a life after giving up her daughter, but that loss was always with her. There was a long pause. Corinne continued. Jasmine left something for Imani, a letter. She wrote it about a year before she died. She said she had a feeling she wouldn't live to see Imani grown, and she wanted to leave her something. She gave it to me, told me to hold on to it until the time was right. My breath caught. What does it say? I don't know. It's sealed. But I think Imani should have it now. Should I give it to her? No, Corinne said. I'll give it to her. This is between grandmother and granddaughter. You've had 34 years with her. Let me have this moment. I wanted to protest, but I didn't have the right. Okay. I'm driving to Baltimore tomorrow. We're meeting at her apartment. Can I stopped myself. Can I see her afterward? That's up to Imani. We hung up. I sat in my living room surrounded by photos of Imani growing up. First day of school, high school graduation, law school ceremony. All the moments I'd been there for, all the memories we'd built together. But they'd been built on a lie. And now I had to live with the consequences. Today is Sunday. I'm sitting here waiting for my phone to ring. Corinne was supposed to meet Imani this morning. It's now past 3 in the afternoon. Finally, my phone buzzes. A text from Imani. Can you come over? I'm already grabbing my keys. Imani's apartment is in Fells Point, a neighborhood she fell in love with during law school. She buzzes me up without a word. When I get to her door, she opens it looking exhausted. Come in, she says. I step inside. Corinne is sitting on the couch, and on the coffee table between us is an opened envelope. I read the letter Imani says. She picks it up, hands it to me. You should read it too. My hands are shaking as I take it. The paper is ordinary lined notebook paper, but the handwriting is careful and deliberate. Dear Imani, my name is Jasmine Whitfield, and I'm your birth mother. If you're reading this, it means you've found out the truth about where you came from, and I'm probably not around anymore to explain myself. I gave birth to you when I was 18 years old. You were perfect, 10 fingers, 10 toes, the most beautiful baby I'd ever seen. Holding you in that hospital was the hardest thing I've ever done, because I knew I had to let you go. I wasn't ready to be a mother. I was barely keeping my own life together, working a dead-end job, living with a mother who had her own struggles. I knew I couldn't give you the life you deserved, so I gave you to Vivian. What I didn't know at the time was that Vivian was my half-sister. I found out years later, when I was going through some old papers my mother had kept. There were documents about my father, Raymond Cross, his other family, his other life. And I saw photos of Vivian and realized who she was. At first, I was angry. Angry that she'd never told me. Angry that she'd let me give away my daughter without knowing we were family. But then I thought about it more, and I realized why she did it. She wanted a child desperately. I had a child I couldn't raise. In some ways, it made sense. I never reached out to you or to Vivian after I found out. I convinced myself it was better to let you have a normal life, uncomplicated by the messy truth of your origins. But there were days I regretted that decision. Days I wished I could see you, know you, be part of your life. By the time you read this, you'll probably be grown. Maybe you have a career, maybe a family of your own. I hope you're happy. I hope Vivian gave you everything I couldn't. Don't be too angry with her for not telling you the truth. She did what she thought was best. We all did. Sometimes family is messy and complicated and built on choices we're not proud of. But that doesn't make the love any less real. You came from me, but you were raised by someone who chose you every single day. That matters more than biology. I hope you live a full, beautiful life. I hope you find peace with all of this. And I hope someday you can understand why I made the choice I did. Love always, Jasmine. I finish reading and look up. Imani is watching me. She knew, Imani says. She found out you were her half-sister, and she never said anything. I didn't know that, I say quietly. I thought I'd kept that secret perfectly. She kept it too, to protect me, to let me have a simple life with you. Imani sits down next to Corinne. They look at each other, and I see something pass between them, an understanding I'm not part of. I've been thinking about this all day, Imani says, about what family means, about lies and truth, and whether love can exist alongside deception. And what did you decide? That I'm still angry. I'm angry that everyone made decisions about my life without letting me have a say. I'm angry that my birth mother is dead and I'll never get to meet her. I'm angry that you lied to me for 34 years. She pauses. But I also understand why. You wanted a child. Jasmine wanted to give her child a better life. Corinne wanted what was best for her daughter and granddaughter. Everyone was trying to do the right thing, even if the methods were flawed. I don't know what to say. I'm not ready to forgive you yet, Imani continues. Maybe I will be someday, but not today. Today, I'm just trying to figure out who I am with all this new information. I nod. I understand. But I don't want to cut you out of my life. You're still my mother. You raised me. You were there for every scraped knee and bad grade and heartbreak. That counts for something. It counts for everything, I whisper. Corinne reaches over and squeezes Imani's hand. I want to be part of your life too, if you'll let me. I want to tell you about your mother, about where you came from. I'd like that, Imani says. We sit there, the three of us. This strange family built on secrets and DNA and choices made decades ago. Before I leave, Imani walks me to the door. Mom, she says, and hearing her call me that makes my chest ache with relief and guilt. I need you to promise me something. Anything. No more secrets. No more lies. If there's anything else I should know, tell me now. I think about the photos of Jasmine I kept, hidden in a box in my attic. The ones I took of her during the pregnancy, when she didn't know I was her half-sister. The documentation of my own deception. There's nothing else, I say, and this time it's the truth. She studies my face for a long moment, then nods. Okay. I drive home as the sun sets over Baltimore, the city turning golden in the fading light. My phone sits on the passenger seat. Silent, but somehow heavier than it was this morning. At a red light, I pick it up and look at the last text from Imani. I love you, Mom. Even when I don't like you very much, I still love you. I sent back, I love you too. Always have, always will. That night, I dream about Jasmine. In the dream, she's standing in my kitchen, holding baby Imani. She looks at me and says, "Thank you for giving her the life I couldn't." I wake up crying. The next few weeks are strange. Imani and I talk on the phone twice a week. Stilted conversations where we're both trying to find our footing. She starts therapy, tells me her therapist specializes in adoption trauma and identity formation. That's good, I tell her. I'm glad you're getting support. Are you seeing anyone? A therapist? I should be. You really should. So I start therapy too. A woman named Dr. Patricia Chen, who listens to my story without judgment and then asks me the hard questions. Why didn't you tell her sooner? I was afraid of losing her. But keeping the secret meant losing part of your authentic relationship with her, didn't it? I suppose it did. What would you say to Jasmine if you could? I close my eyes. I'm sorry. I should have told you who I was. I should have given you the choice. Dr. Chen nods. Grief work often includes conversations we never got to have. I start writing letters to Jasmine. Letters I'll never send. Letters she'll never read, but letters that help me process what happened. I write about the day she told me she was pregnant, about watching her hold Imani in the hospital, about the years I spent convincing myself I'd done the right thing. In my 5th therapy session, Dr. Chen says something that stops me cold. Have you considered that Imani might need to be angry for a while? That her anger is healthy and appropriate, and your job isn't to fix it, but to accept it? I hadn't thought about it that way. You spent 34 years controlling the narrative. Now it's her turn to process and decide how she feels. That means you might have to sit with discomfort. She's right. I've been so focused on getting Imani to forgive me that I haven't really let her feel what she needs to feel. So I stopped pushing. I stopped asking if we're okay. Stop trying to explain myself again and again. When Imani calls, I listen. When she needs space, I give it to her. 2 months after the DNA test revelation, Imani invites me to dinner at her apartment. Corinne will be there too. She's been visiting Baltimore regularly, building a relationship with her granddaughter. I arrive with flowers and a bottle of wine, nervous as a teenager on a first date. Imani opens the door smiling. It's the first genuine smile she's given me since everything came out. Come in. Dinner's almost ready. The apartment smells like curry and cardamom. Corinne is in the kitchen, helping with the final preparations. Vivian, she says, nodding at me. She's been polite but distant, and I can't blame her. We sit down to eat, and at first, the conversation is awkward. Surface-level questions about work and weather. But then Imani says something that changes the tone. I've been going through the photos Corinne gave me of Jasmine growing up. She looks at me. You look so much alike. I can't believe I never noticed. You never had reason to look for the resemblance, Corinne says gently. True. Imani pauses. I'd been thinking about her a lot. About what her life was like. What she wanted. Who she was. She was whip smart, Corinne says. Always reading, always questioning everything. She wanted to change the world, make it better. Did she? Imani asks. Make it better? She tried. She became a professor, taught hundreds of students, inspired a lot of them to pursue history and think critically about the world. She donated to causes she believed in. She lived a good life, even though it was marked by the loss of you. Imani looks down at her plate. I wish I could have known her. Me too, I say quietly. We finish dinner. Over dessert, Imani brings out more photos. Not just of Jasmine, but of all of us. Photos of me holding baby Imani. Photos of her first birthday, her graduations, all the moments that made up our life together. I want to make a photo album, she says. One that tells the whole story. Not just the lie I believed, but the truth. Starting with Jasmine and going through to now. That's a beautiful idea, Corinne says. I look at the photos spread across the table. This visual history of love and loss and complicated choices. And I realize that maybe that's what healing looks like. Not erasing the past or pretending it didn't happen, but integrating it into a fuller, more honest story. Mom, Imani says, looking at me, I want you to help me with this. I want you to tell me everything you remember about Jasmine. Everything you observed during the pregnancy. I want the full picture. Even the parts that make me look bad, especially those parts. So over the next several weeks, that's what we do. Imani comes over to my house and we go through everything. I tell her about finding Jasmine crying in the bathroom, about the private adoption process, about my own conflicted feelings throughout. I also tell her things I'd never planned to share, like how jealous I sometimes felt watching Jasmine's body change with pregnancy, knowing I'd never experienced that myself. How guilty I felt about that jealousy. How complicated it was to be grateful for Imani while also recognizing that her existence came from Jasmine's pain. Those are hard conversations. Sometimes Imani gets angry again, and we have to take breaks. But we keep coming back to it, keep working through it. 3 months after the DNA test, Imani tells me she wants to visit North Carolina. Jasmine lived there for years. Taught at Duke. I want to see where she worked, where she lived, maybe talk to people who knew her. Do you want me to come? She hesitates. Not this time. I think I need to do this part alone. But maybe Corinne? Of course, Corinne says when Imani asks her. I'd be honored. They take a long weekend and drive down to Durham. While they're gone, I feel the absence acutely. Not just Imani's absence, but Jasmine's. The ghost of the sister I never really knew, never acknowledged while she was alive. When Imani returns, she's different, quieter, more centered. We went to the university, she tells me over coffee. Talked to some of Jasmine's former colleagues. They all remembered her fondly, said she was tough but fair, that students loved her. That must have been nice to hear. It was. One of her former students is now a professor there himself. He told us about a lecture Jasmine gave on hidden histories, on the stories we don't tell because they're too complicated or painful. He said it changed his life. Imani looks at me. Thinks she was talking about us. About you and me and the story she couldn't tell. Probably. He gave me a copy of her published papers. I've been reading them. She's brilliant. She pauses. I get my brains from her, don't I? The lawyer thing, the analytical mind. You might, I say carefully. But you got your work ethic from Marcus and your persistence from me. You're a combination of everyone who shaped you. She smiles a little. Yeah, I guess I am. That night, Imani posts something on social media. A photo of Jasmine from college, young and smiling, next to a recent photo of Imani. The resemblance is striking. The caption reads, "Just learned my birth mother was a brilliant history professor who gave me up for adoption when she was 18. She died 12 years ago, but I'm just now getting to know her." Family is complicated. Love is complicated. Truth is necessary. The comments flood in. Other adoptees sharing their stories. People offering support. A few ugly comments from people who think adoption is wrong or that I'm a villain for not telling Imani sooner. Imani deletes those. She calls me after it goes viral. I hope you're okay with me posting about this. It's your story to tell. It's our story. But I'm the one who gets to decide how to tell it now. You're right. And I'm sorry I took that choice from you for so long. She's quiet for a moment. I know you are, Mom. I'm starting to understand that you did what you thought was best, even if it wasn't what I would have wanted. Progress. Small but real. 4 months after the DNA test revelation, I get an unexpected call from a number I don't recognize. Is this Vivian Cross? A woman's voice, unfamiliar. Yes, who's this? My name is Dr. Elena Vasquez. I'm a researcher at the University of Maryland, studying late discovery adoptees. Your daughter Imani reached out to me about potentially participating in a study. My chest tightens. Okay? I wanted to speak with you as well, if you're willing. We're looking at the long-term psychological impacts of discovering adoption later in life. And we're particularly interested in the family dynamics afterward. Your case is unique because of the biological connection between you and the birth mother. Done. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that. I understand. It's completely voluntary. But I want you to know that stories like yours, when shared in a research context, can help other families navigate these situations better. There's not a lot of literature on half-sibling adoptions or on adoptive parents who kept the adoption secret for decades. Can I think about it? Of course. I'll email you more information. After we hang up, I sit with the uncomfortable feeling that comes from being studied, examined, turned into data. But Dr. Vasquez is right. If our story can help someone else, maybe it's worth the discomfort. I call Imani. Did you sign up for that adoption study? Yeah. Her voice is cautious. Is that okay? I should have asked you first. No, it's fine. I'm just surprised. I think it could help me process everything. And maybe our story could help other people going through similar things. Dr. Vasquez wants to interview me too. Would you be willing to do it? I pause, thinking, yes, I think I would. We both participate in the study over the next several weeks. Separate interviews, questionnaires, psychological assessments. It's exhausting and sometimes painful, but also strangely cathartic. In one session, Dr. Vasquez asks me, if you could go back and change one thing, what would it be? I'd tell her the truth when she was younger. Maybe around 12 or 13, when she was old enough to understand, but still young enough that it wouldn't completely destabilize her identity. What stopped you? Fear, pure fear. And also, the longer I waited, the harder it became. By the time she was a teenager, I'd already lied for over a decade. How do you undo that? You can't undo it, Dr. Vasquez says. But you can acknowledge it and work to rebuild trust, which is what you're doing now. Is it working? She smiles. You tell me, how's your relationship with Imani now compared to 4 months ago? Better. Still complicated, but better. That's all anyone can ask for. The study brings some unexpected benefits. Imani and I are connected with other families dealing with late discovery adoption. We attend a support group, sitting in a circle with strangers who understand exactly what we're going through. One woman, Carol, found out at 45 that she was adopted. Her parents had died years before, so she couldn't even confront them about it. I'm so angry at people I can't be angry at, she says, crying. They're dead. I can't yell at them. I can't ask them why. Imani reaches over and squeezes her hand. I get that. My birth mother is dead too. I'll never get answers directly from her. It helps both of us, being in that room with people who understand. The isolation of our situation had made it feel impossible. Seeing others navigate similar pain makes it feel survivable. 5 months after the revelation, Imani gets a promotion at her firm. She's now a junior partner, the youngest in the firm's history. We celebrate with dinner at an expensive restaurant. Corinne flies in for the occasion. Even some of Imani's colleagues join us. I'm so proud of you, I tell her over dessert. Thanks, Mom. She says it easily now, without the hesitation that was there in the early months. I couldn't have done this without your support. Even when things were hard between us, you never stopped believing in me. That's what mothers do. She looks at me seriously. Real mothers, the ones who show up and do the work. Biology doesn't determine that. I feel tears prick my eyes. Thank you for saying that. Corinne raises her glass to Imani and to the women who raised her in all the ways that matter. We toast. And for the first time in months, I feel like maybe we're going to be okay. But life has a way of complicating things just when you think you found equilibrium. A week after Imani's promotion, I get a letter in the mail. It's from an attorney in Philadelphia. Dear Miss Cross, I represent the estate of Raymond Cross. My client's estate includes certain assets that were previously unknown. We have recently discovered documentation suggesting that you may have additional family members with potential claim to these assets. My blood runs cold. My father died almost 40 years ago. His estate was settled decades ago. I call the number on the letterhead. Mr. Harrison, this is Vivian Cross. I received your letter, and I'm very confused. Ms. Cross, thank you for calling. The attorney sounds young, professional. I'll be direct. Your father had a life insurance policy that was never claimed. It's been sitting with the insurance company all this time. When they did a routine audit, they discovered it and contacted our firm to locate beneficiaries. How much? $250,000. I nearly dropped the phone. Excuse me? Your father took out a policy in 1985, shortly after you were married. The beneficiaries listed are you and, quote, any biological children of Raymond Cross. I close my eyes. Any biological children? Which brings me to my question, Mr. Harrison continues. Do you have siblings? Half-siblings? Anyone else who might have a claim? I think of Jasmine, dead for 12 years. I think of Imani, who is technically Jasmine's daughter. It's complicated. I'll need a full family tree. Birth certificates, death certificates. Any documentation you have. I'll get back to you. Miss Cross, I should mention that the insurance company is running their own search. If there are other beneficiaries, they'll find them. After I hang up, I sit at my kitchen table with my head in my hands. $250,000. Split between me and any biological children of Raymond Cross. Jasmine is dead, but Imani is her biological child. Does that mean Imani is entitled to Jasmine's share? Or does the money only go to direct children of Raymond, which wouldn't include grandchildren? I need a lawyer. I call Imani. She listens to the whole story and then says, "Mom, you need to tell the attorney about me and about Jasmine. But that means you might have a claim to part of the money." So? It's your father's money. If I'm entitled to it through Jasmine, then I'm entitled to it. You don't need it. You're doing well. That's not the point. The point is being honest about who's who in this family. We just spent months working through trust issues because of lies. Are you really going to start lying again about family connections? She's right. Of course she's right. Okay. I'll tell them everything. I send Mr. Harrison a detailed email explaining the family situation. My father's affair, Jasmine's birth, the adoption. All of it laid out in painful detail. He calls me back the next day. "This is quite a situation. You're telling me. Legally, it's going to depend on how the policy is worded. If it says any biological children, then Jasmine would have been a beneficiary. Since she's deceased, her assets would typically pass to her child, which is Imani. But Imani was adopted, which complicates things." How? Different states have different laws about adoptees and inheritance rights. In Maryland, adoption generally severs the legal relationship with biological parents, which means Imani might not have a claim through Jasmine. But she's still Raymond's biological granddaughter. True, but the policy specifies children, not grandchildren. So the money would just go to me? Most likely, yes. I hang up feeling sick. It's my father's money. Money he made while hiding his affair and his second daughter. Money that should acknowledge both of his children. But because of legal technicalities and my own choices, Imani might be cut out entirely. That night, I can't sleep. I keep thinking about Jasmine, about how she struggled financially her whole life while my father had this policy sitting unused. About how Imani could benefit from it now, how it could help with student loans or a down payment on a house. The next morning, I call my own attorney. I want to set up a trust. Half of whatever I receive from this insurance policy goes to Imani immediately. The other half goes to her in my will. Are you sure? That's a lot of money. I'm sure. We draw up the paperwork. I sign it. When I tell Imani what I've done, she starts crying. "Mom, you didn't have to do that." Yes, I did. That money should have been split between me and Jasmine. Since she's gone, it should go to her daughter. This is just making right what the law won't. She hugs me tight. Thank you. The insurance company takes another 6 weeks to process everything. When the check finally arrives, I split it exactly as I'd promised. $125,000 to Imani, $125,000 into savings for my eventual estate. Imani uses part of her share to establish a scholarship at Duke in Jasmine's name, the Jasmine Whitfield Memorial Scholarship for first-generation college students studying history. I think she'd like that, Corinne says when Imani tells her about it. I hope so. The scholarship announcement brings unexpected attention. A local news station does a story about it. They interview Imani about her late discovery adoption, about learning that her birth mother was a professor who died too young. The story goes regional, then national. Suddenly, people are reaching out from everywhere. Other late discovery adoptees, people who knew Jasmine at Duke, former students of hers who want to contribute to the scholarship. One email stands out. It's from a woman named Marissa Chen. "I was one of Professor Whitfield's students in 2010, she writes. "She changed my life. When I was struggling with my identity as an adopted person, she somehow knew exactly what to say. She never told me she'd given up a child for adoption, but looking back, I realized she understood my pain from personal experience. I'd like to contribute to the scholarship and also share some memories if you're interested." Imani forwards me the email. Should I respond? Absolutely. Learning more about Jasmine can only help. Imani sets up a phone call with Marissa. Afterward, she calls me, voice thick with emotion. Mom, she remembered Jasmine so clearly. She said Jasmine was the kind of professor who saw students as whole people, not just names on a roster. She'd check in on them, ask how they were really doing, offer support beyond just academics. That sounds like someone who would have been a wonderful mother if circumstances had been different. Yeah, Marissa said Jasmine mentioned once that she had regrets in her life, things she wished she could change. But she also said regret could either destroy you or teach you to live more fully. She chose the latter. Wise woman. I wish I could have known her, Imani says again. It's become a refrain, this wish for the impossible. Me too, honey. Me too. 7 months after the DNA test, Corinne has another health scare. This time it's more serious, a small stroke that leaves her temporarily unable to speak. Imani drops everything and flies to Richmond. I drive down the next day. We spend a week at the hospital, then help Corinne settle into a rehab facility. She's frustrated by her limitations, angry at her body for failing her. I'm not ready to go yet, she manages to say, once her speech starts coming back. I just found my granddaughter. I need more time. You'll have more time, Imani assures her. You're tough. You'll recover from this. And she does, slowly. Physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy. By the end of the month, she's back to about 80% of her former function. But the stroke scares all of us. It's a reminder that time is limited, that we need to make the most of whatever time we have together. Corinne can't live alone anymore, so we start looking into options. Assisted living near Imani in Baltimore. Moving in with me. Various facilities in Richmond. None of them feel right. Then Imani makes a suggestion that surprises everyone. What if Corinne moved in with me? I have a spare bedroom. I work from home 2 days a week. I could be there if she needs help. Imani, that's a big commitment, I say carefully. I know, but she's family. And honestly, I've lost enough time with her already. I don't want to lose more. Corinne tears up. You'd really do that for me? You're my grandmother. Of course I would. They work out the logistics. Corinne moves to Baltimore in September, settling into Imani's spare room. At first, it's an adjustment. 2 independent women learning to share space. But they find their rhythm. I visit often, bringing groceries or takeout, helping with whatever needs doing. Slowly, the 3 of us become our own little unit. Not a traditional family, but family nonetheless. If you've made it this far, I want to ask you something. Subscribe if you haven't already. Drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. And tell me, have you ever discovered a family secret that changed everything? I'd like to know I'm not alone in this. One evening, the 3 of us are having dinner at Imani's apartment when Corinne brings up something unexpected. I've been thinking about Raymond, she says. Your father, Vivian, Jasmine's father. I tense. What about him? He wasn't a good man. He hurt people. He lied. He used his charm to manipulate women and then abandon them when it got inconvenient. I can't argue with that. But, Corinne continues, he also gave me Jasmine. And Jasmine, despite everything, became someone wonderful. She gave me joy even when she was struggling. And she gave Imani to you, which created this. She gestures around the table. Whatever this is. Complicated legacy, Imani says quietly. Yes, Corinne nods. I guess what I'm saying is that I'm choosing to focus on what came from him rather than who he was. Not forgiveness exactly, but what's the word? Acceptance, I offer. Yes, acceptance. We sit with that for a while. I never got to confront him about Jasmine, I say eventually. He died before I knew the truth. Sometimes I think about what I would have said if I'd had the chance. What would you have said? Imani asks. I'd tell him he was a coward, that he took the easy way out by hiding his daughter instead of integrating her into our family, that his lies hurt everyone, me, my mother, Jasmine, Corinne. But would he have listened? Corinne asks gently. Probably not, He wasn't good at hearing hard truths. Most people aren't, Imani says. Including me, apparently. She gives me a look that's both teasing and serious. I spent 4 months being angry at you before I could hear what you were actually trying to say. You had every right to be angry. I know, but I'm glad I moved past it. We're better now than we were before. She's right. The forced honesty, the uncomfortable conversations, the work we've done to rebuild trust, it's made our relationship stronger, more real. 8 months after the DNA test, I attend Imani's firm holiday party. It's the first time I've been invited to a work event since everything came out. I was nervous that she wouldn't want me there, that she'd be embarrassed by our complicated family situation. But she introduces me to everyone as her mom. No qualifiers, no explanations. Just mom. Halfway through the party, one of the senior partners approaches me. Miss Cross, I wanted to tell you that your daughter is extraordinary. We're lucky to have her. Thank you. I'm very proud of her. She's told us some of her story, about the late discovery adoption, about finding her birth mother's family. He pauses. That takes real strength, working through something like that while maintaining her professional excellence. Says a lot about how she was raised. I feel tears threaten. Thank you. That means a lot. After he walks away, Imani finds me. You okay? You look emotional. I'm good. Just proud of you. She links her arm through mine. Come on, I want you to meet more people. We spend the rest of the evening together, and I realize this is what healing looks like. Not grand gestures or dramatic reconciliations, but quiet moments where we're simply together, comfortable in each other's presence. 9 months in, Corinne starts talking about writing a memoir. She wants to document her life, Jasmine's life, and how it all intersected with ours. I'm 72 years old, she says. I've had a stroke. I don't know how much time I have left. I want to leave something behind, a record of the truth. Do you want help? Imani asks. Actually, I was hoping you'd co-write it with me. Your perspective as the child at the center of all this, it's essential. They start meeting weekly, recording conversations, going through photos and documents. I'm invited to contribute my own memories, which I do, even though it's painful to revisit those years. The book takes shape slowly. Corinne writes about her affair with my father, the pregnancy, raising Jasmine alone. I write about the adoption, the lies, the fear. Imani writes about discovery, anger, and eventual understanding. We find a literary agent who's interested. She thinks it could help a lot of people navigating similar situations. But publication means making our story public in a much bigger way than a local news article or a research study. It means strangers reading about our mistakes and our pain. Are we ready for that? I ask at one of our writing sessions. I don't know if we'll ever be ready, Imani says, but I think we should do it anyway. The book gets picked up by a small press that specializes in memoir. They want to publish it next year. We tell extended family about it. The reactions are mixed. Some people are supportive. Others think we're airing dirty laundry that should stay private. One cousin calls me directly. Why would you do this? She demands. Why would you humiliate the family like this? I'm not trying to humiliate anyone. I'm trying to tell the truth. Your father is dead. Let him rest in peace. His peace came at the expense of Jasmine and Corinne's pain. Maybe it's time to acknowledge that. She hangs up on me. Several relatives stop speaking to us. But others surprise me. My father's sister, my Aunt Margaret, calls to say she's proud of us. I always suspected Raymond had secrets, she says. I'm glad the truth is finally out. He should have acknowledged Jasmine while he was alive. Did you know about her? I suspected. There were signs. Phone calls he'd take privately. Money that went missing. But your mother denied everything, and I didn't push. I wish someone had pushed. Maybe things would have been different. Maybe. Or maybe they would have been worse. Who knows? A year after the DNA test revelation, we're all having dinner at my house when Imani makes an announcement. I've been seeing someone. His name is David. He's a public defender. I really like him. That's wonderful, I say. When do we get to meet him? Actually, he's outside in the car. I wanted to ask if he could come in. Of course. David turns out to be warm, intelligent, clearly smitten with Imani. He's black, in his late 30s, with an easy laugh and thoughtful eyes. Over dinner, he tells us about his work defending people who can't afford private attorneys. It's hard, he admits. The system is broken in so many ways. But every once in a while, you get a win. You help someone who really deserves a second chance. That makes it worth it. Sounds like you and Imani are well matched. Karine says, "You're both fighting for justice in your own ways." He smiles at Imani. "She's taught me a lot about resilience, about working through hard things and coming out stronger." After he leaves, we grill Imani. "He seems great," I say. "He is. We've been dating for 3 months." I wanted to be sure before introducing him to everyone. "Are you happy?" Karine asks. "Really happy. The happiest I've been in a long time." Watching her smile, seeing the lightness in her eyes, I feel a wave of gratitude. Despite everything we've been through, despite all the pain and anger and hard conversations, she's okay. More than okay. David becomes a regular presence in our lives. He fits seamlessly into our complicated family dynamic, taking everything in stride. "Your family is interesting," he tells me one day when we're alone. In the best way. That's a polite way of saying we're a mess. He laughs. "Every family is a mess in their own way. Yours is just more honest about it than most." 6 months into their relationship, David proposes. Imani says yes. The wedding planning begins. It's a joyous distraction from the heavier work of the memoir. Imani wants a small ceremony, just close family and friends. She asks me to walk her down the aisle. "Are you sure? What about Corinne? She's your biological grandmother." Imani shakes her head. "Mom, you raised me. You're the one who was there for everything. I want you." We both cry. The wedding happens on a perfect May afternoon, 2 years after the DNA test that changed everything. It's in a botanical garden, flowers blooming everywhere, the sun warm, but not too hot. I walk Imani down the aisle, my arm linked through hers. She's radiant in a simple white dress, her natural hair styled beautifully with flowers woven through. David cries when he sees her. His vows are beautiful, promising to be her partner in all things, to support her work and her complicated family, to love her unconditionally. Imani's vows are equally moving. "I used to think family was simple," she says, "but the last 2 years have taught me that family is complicated and messy, and built on both biology and choice. David, you're choosing me, knowing all my complications, all my baggage, all my history. That means everything." She looks at me. "And Mom, you chose me 34 years ago. You've chosen me every day since." That's what real love looks like. There's not a dry eye in the garden. At the reception, Corinne gives a toast. "I'm 74 years old. I've lived a long life, made a lot of mistakes, loved and lost. But standing here today, watching my granddaughter marry this wonderful man, surrounded by people who love her, I feel incredibly blessed." She pauses, emotional. "My daughter Jasmine couldn't be here today. She passed away too young, before she got to see the amazing woman her child became. But I know she'd be so proud. Proud of Imani, proud of Vivian for raising her so well, proud of all of us for finding our way through the mess to this moment." She raises her glass. "To family, in all its complicated, beautiful forms." We toast. We dance. We celebrate. Later that night, after most guests have left, Imani finds me sitting outside. "Thank you, Mom, for everything. For today, for the last 2 years, for my entire life." "You don't need to thank me." "I do. I know I was angry for a while. I know I made things hard." "You had every right to be angry. Maybe, but I'm not anymore. I understand now why you made the choices you did. I might not have made the same choices, but I understand. She takes my hand. You're my mom, the only mom I've ever known, the one who was there for every nightmare and every triumph. Biology doesn't change that, and I squeeze her hand back, too emotional to speak. The book comes out 6 months after Imani's wedding. It's called Hidden in Plain Sight, A Family's Journey Through Secrets, DNA, and Love. The reviews are mostly positive. People appreciate the honesty, the way we don't sugarcoat the pain or pretend everything resolved easily. We do a book tour, small readings at independent bookstores and libraries. At each event, people come up to share their own stories. Late discovery adoptees, birth mothers who gave up children, adoptive parents struggling with when and how to tell the truth. One woman approaches us after a reading in Philadelphia. I gave up a baby 30 years ago, she says, crying, closed adoption. I've wondered about her every day since. Your book makes me think maybe she's okay, even if I'm not there. Imani hugs her. I'm sure she's okay. And maybe someday she'll look for you, like I would have looked for Jasmine if she'd been alive. The woman leaves looking lighter somehow, like sharing the burden helped. We hear from Jasmine's former students too. Many of them contribute memories to a website Imani created in her honor. One writes, Professor Whitfield taught me that history isn't just about dates and events. It's about people making hard choices with incomplete information. She lived that philosophy. I'm honored to have known her. Another, she made me feel seen in a way no other teacher ever did. She understood struggle because she'd lived it. Rest in power, Professor Whitfield. Reading these tributes, I feel grief for the woman I never really knew, but also gratitude that she touched so many lives, that her impact continues even in death. 3 years after the DNA test, Corinne's health declines again. This time, it's cancer. Stage 4, caught too late. She takes the news with characteristic strength. I've had a good life, she tells us. Longer than I expected, honestly. And these last few years with you both, they've been a gift. You're not giving up, Imani says fiercely. We'll fight this. Honey, sometimes you have to know when to let go. We get her into treatment anyway. Chemotherapy that makes her sick and weak. Radiation that exhausts her. But the cancer is aggressive, already spread too far. After 3 months of treatment, Corinne calls us together. I'm stopping, she says. The treatment is worse than the disease at this point. I want whatever time I have left to be good time, not time spent in hospitals. Are you sure? I ask. I'm sure, she says. She enrolls in hospice. We move her hospital bed into the living room of Imani's apartment so she can be part of daily life for as long as possible. David and Imani care for her with incredible gentleness. I come over daily to help. We take turns sitting with her, reading to her, making sure she's comfortable. One afternoon when we're alone, Corinne takes my hand. I need to tell you something, she says. Her voice is weak now, each word an effort. What is it? I blamed you for a long time, for not telling Jasmine who you were, for keeping that secret. I thought if she'd known you were her sister, maybe things would have been different for her. Maybe she wouldn't have felt so alone. I understand that, but I was wrong. Jasmine made her own choices. She chose to give Imani to you. She chose not to reach out when she found out the truth. She chose to protect Imani from the mess even when it cost her. That wasn't your fault. Tears run down my face. Thank you for saying that. You were a good mother to Imani. Better than I was to Jasmine in a lot of ways. You were there. You showed up. That matters. Jasmine would be proud of how Imani turned out, I tell her. Proud of the woman she became. Corinne smiles weakly. Yes, she would. She dies 2 weeks later, peacefully in her sleep. Imani is holding her hand. We bury Corinne next to Jasmine in North Carolina. The funeral is small, just us and a few of Corinne's old friends. But it feels right. Mother and daughter reunited in death as they were in life. At the gravesite, Imani speaks. I only knew my grandmother for 3 years, but those 3 years changed my life. She gave me access to a history I didn't know I had. She told me about my birth mother, helped me understand where I came from. I'm grateful for every conversation, every story, every moment we shared. She places flowers on both graves. I'll carry both of you with me, always. After the funeral, Imani and I drive back to Baltimore in silence. David is with us, quiet and supportive in the back seat. Halfway home, Imani says, "I want to have a baby." I look at her. Yeah? Yeah. I want to create life, to pass on this complicated legacy we've built. I want my child to know where they came from, all of it, the good and the bad. I think that's beautiful. Will you help me when the time comes? Will you be there? Of course, I'll be there for everything. She reaches over and squeezes my hand. 4 years after the DNA test, Imani gives birth to a daughter. They name her Jasmine Corinne, after the women who made her existence possible. I'm in the delivery room when she's born, watching my daughter become a mother herself, the circle completing. She's perfect, Imani says, holding her daughter for the first time, tears streaming down her face. She looks just like the photos of Jasmine as a baby. She does. Same nose, same chin. I'm going to tell her everything, Imani says, about how she came to be, about all the complicated love that made her possible. No secrets. That's good. That's how it should be. Over the next year, I watch Imani navigate motherhood with grace and honesty. When little Jasmine is old enough to understand, Imani starts telling her stories. Age-appropriate versions at first, simple explanations that will grow more complex as she grows. "You're named after your birth grandmother," Imani tells her. "A woman I never got to meet, but who lives on through you." The child doesn't fully understand yet, but she will. In time, she'll know the whole story, all the complicated truth. 5 years after the DNA test, I'm diagnosed with diabetes. It's manageable, but it's a reminder that I'm not young anymore. I'm 67 now. My time is finite. I start putting my affairs in order, updating my will, organizing documents, making sure Imani knows where everything is. One day she finds me going through old boxes. "What are you doing, Mom?" "Just organizing. Making sure you'll be able to find things when I'm gone." She sits down next to me. "You're not going anywhere anytime soon." "Maybe not. But I want to be prepared." We go through the boxes together. Photos from Imani's childhood, documents from the adoption, letters from Marcus before he died. At the bottom of one box, we find something neither of us expected. A letter in an envelope addressed to me in Jasmine's handwriting. "Mom," Imani whispers, "is this?" I don't know. I never saw this before. With shaking hands, I open it. The date on the letter is from 2003, 6 years before Jasmine died. "Dear Vivian, I don't know if I'll ever send this letter. I don't know if I have the courage, but I needed to write it, needed to say things I've kept inside for too long. I know who you are. I figured it out years ago. My half-sister. My father's legitimate daughter, the one he loved enough to stay with. I was angry at first. Angry that you never told me. Angry that you took my daughter without acknowledging our connection. But then I realized you gave her the life I couldn't. You loved her the way she deserved to be loved. And that matters more than blood. I think about her every day. Wonder what she looks like, who she's becoming. I hope she's happy. I hope she has the life I dreamed for her. Thank you for being her mother. Thank you for showing up every day, for loving her unconditionally, for being everything I couldn't be. I don't expect you to respond to this letter. I don't even know if I'll send it, but I needed to say it, to acknowledge the truth between us, your sister, Jasmine. By the end, both Imani and I are crying. She knew, Imani says. She knew all along and she never said anything. She protected you, protected us both. I wish she'd sent the letter. I wish we could have talked about it. Me too. We sit there holding the letter, this final gift from a woman who shaped our lives even in absence. That night, I can't sleep. I keep thinking about Jasmine, about all the conversations we never had, about how she carried the truth alone rather than burden anyone else with it. The next day, I write my own letter. Not to Jasmine, she's beyond receiving it, but to Imani, to be opened after I'm gone. I write about my mistakes and my regrets, about the lies I told and the truth I should have shared sooner, but also about the love I felt from the first moment I held her, about how being her mother was the greatest privilege of my life. I seal it and put it with my important documents, labeled clearly for her to find someday. 6 years after the DNA test, Imani's daughter starts preschool. We take her on her first day, 3 generations of women walking into that building together. Little Jasmine is nervous but excited. She holds both her mother's hand and mine as we walk down the hallway. The teacher greets us warmly. "You must be so proud," she says to Imani and me. We are. Imani says, "She's our whole world." That night, Imani and David and I have dinner together. Little Jasmine chatters about her first day, about the friends she made and the games she played. She's so confident, I observe, so comfortable in herself. "That's because she knows she's loved," David says, "because she's never had to question where she belongs." He's right. This child, born into a family built on secrets and revelation, has never known anything but unconditional love and acceptance. She's free in ways her grandmother Jasmine never was, in ways even Imani struggled to be. This is what healing looks like, I realize. Not just working through the past, but building something better for the future. 7 years after the DNA test. I'm sitting in my backyard on a warm summer evening. I'm 70 now. My hair is completely gray now. My hands shake sometimes. But I'm here. I'm alive. And I'm at peace. Imani and David pull up with little Jasmine, now 6 years old and missing her front teeth. "Grandma!" She runs to me and I catch her in a hug. We have a cookout. David mans the grill while Imani and I set the table. Little Jasmine plays in the yard, chasing fireflies. Before we leave, that is the last thing I want to say. If this story touched you, if you've lived through something similar, or if you're carrying secrets that weigh on you, leave a comment. Tell me your city. Tell me your story. We're all just trying to figure out this complicated thing called family. "Mom," little Jasmine calls to Imani, "tell me again about the grandmother I'm named after." Imani scoops her up. "Your grandmother Jasmine was a brilliant woman. She was a teacher, just like your teacher at school. She loved books and learning and helping people understand the world better." "Did she know about me?" "No, baby. She died before you were born. But I think she'd love you so much if she could meet you." The child thinks about this. "Do I look like her?" "You do. You have her eyes and her smile." "And you look like her too?" "Yes, and like my mom, Vivian, your great-grandmother. We're all connected. Like a family tree." "Exactly like a family tree." Watching this moment, I think about how far we've come. From secrets and lies to this. Open honesty and unconditional love. The sun sets over Baltimore, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. We sit on the back porch, 4 generations of women, connected by biology and choice and love. Imani leans over to me. "Happy, Mom?" "Happier than I ever thought possible. And I mean it. Despite everything we've been through, all the pain and revelation and hard work, we've built something real, something that will outlast me. My daughter knows where she comes from. My granddaughter will grow up with truth instead of secrets. And I, finally, can rest in the knowledge that honesty, even when it's hard, is always better than lies. That's the real ending to this story. Not a dramatic confrontation or a neat resolution, but this, a quiet summer evening with the people I love most, living in the truth together. Family isn't about perfection. It's not about hiding the messy parts or pretending everything is simple. Family is about showing up, doing work, choosing each other even when it's hard. And that's Exactly what we've done. As night falls and the fireflies come out, little Jasmine falls asleep in her mother's lap. Imani looks at me over her daughter's head and smiles. In that smile, I see forgiveness, understanding, and love. And I know finally that everything is going to be okay. Not perfect, but okay. And sometimes that's more than enough.